Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bolt Matrix and welcome to the Chosen Primes video review of the first wave of Power of the Primes Deluxe class figures. From left to right, we have Dreadwind, Slug, Jazz, and Swoop. Now you may remember that Slug here was actually named Slag back in the Generation 1 days, but they had to change his name to Slug. All of these figures are currently available in a set on thechosenprime.com for $69.99. We're going to go ahead and take a quick look at all of them individually right now. Sporting 22 points of articulation, Dreadwind is a very posable figure, and I love the coloring. The white, the lavender, or I should say the teal, and the purple are all beautiful and work incredibly well for this mold. The mold itself is a variation and a retool of the Combiner Wars aerial bots jet modes, or jet forms. Swoop also sports 22 points of articulation, and as well you can pull off some good poses. He does not come with a gun, but rather his sword, which is modeled after his G1 weapon of the, same sword type. Personally, this is my favorite of the robot modes simply because the silver, the blue, and the red all work phenomenally well with each other. Only sporting 12 points of articulation, Jazz is the least posable of the set. Though he looks a lot like his G1 counterpart, the arms and the legs are overly blocky, plus he has a lot of robot kibble, which does hamper some of the posability. Also, his transformation is a little bit weird for changing into the car mode. The overall aesthetic of the figure is good, it just needs more definition in paint. And lastly, we have Slug, who possesses 14 points of articulation. However, the head is slightly posable from side to side, though it is incredibly limited due to the fact that he has an entire Triceratops head hanging off the back of his robot head. The overall look of the robot mode is good, though bulky, and the feet have no articulation whatsoever. You can still pull off some dynamic poses, though. The overall look is good, that again, it needs just a little bit more paint, but I do appreciate the glossiness of the silver. This year's gimmick is that of the Prime Armors. Each figure comes with a section or piece of chunk of plastic that looks like this, that has a centerpiece that is able to be removed. The other figures are all clear with black, fully black components, while Dreadwind has this purple, teal, and white one. The piece that comes out of the center can be wielded as a weapon on all of them. However, all of the others are clear, so it doesn't really have any definition. All of these components can be attached to the chest of each of the figures, or it can be wielded in robot mode, and each one folds out and transforms into a hand for a combiner arm, or Combiner's war arm. These cannot be used as feet, unfortunately. One thing they can be used as is Titan's Master carrier components, or Prime's Master carrier components. It is, however, incredibly odd to wield a Titan's Returns Titan Master with these Prime Armors, because it looks like a strange Transformers Baby Bjorn. This is just weird. Each figure's transformation is very simple and also very similar to other figures from the Combiner Wars toy line. None of the figures really need directions to be transformed by anybody who's been experienced with transforming these kinds of figures in the past. Swoop and Dreadwinds are by far the easiest, with Jazz and Slugs being a little bit more difficult. Slug, you do have to be a little bit careful with the transformation of the tail, and Jazz, you need to be careful with the transformation of the legs, as the leg hinges have a tendency to pop off and break very easily. Slug is a little bit easier in that respect with the legs, but you do have to be careful that you don't pinch yourself. Each figure's individual alt mode looks very good, and the Prime Armor can fit on top of all of them in their alternate modes, along with their weapons. The overall aesthetic of them is quite good, and the transformations are fun. If I had to pick winners, though, I have to say that Dreadwind and Swoop are my favorites, followed by Slug and then Jazz. I think Jazz is the weakest of the bunch. Slug is a lot of fun, but the dinosaur mode, or the Triceratops mode, feels very, very small for some reason to me. That's just me. It's actually not that small. Swoop is a whole lot of fun, and Dreadwind is really cool. and he should be able to combine with a figure named Blackwing later in 2018. So I hope you've enjoyed this video preview of the first wave of Deluxe class figures from Power of the Primes. Please check out my channel for full video reviews of each one of these figures, and as always, head over to the Chosen Prime to pick these guys up. We'll catch you next time.